Hello everybody and welcome back to the second shelf and to another recent reads on Sunday, even though, full disclosure, it's not Sunday today. I'm pre-filming this in order not to have the same issue as last week. Sorry about that. But today is Wednesday or Thursday, I think. Thursday morning. So I have a little bit of time now and I thought I'm going to film because the books I want to talk about, the books that I finished and that I'm currently reading, that's not going to change much until Sunday. So anyway, you don't care. You will see the video on Sunday. So everything's fine. There are two books that I want to talk about that I finished. Both of them were buddy reads and both of them were nonfiction. Actually, I think when the month is out, on Saturday, I will have read one fiction book because it's on the 1001 book list, the book club list with Sandy, and everything else I read in November was nonfiction. Yeah, me, nonfiction November. Anyway, so the first book I want to talk about that I finished was a buddy read with Terri, and we read another essay collection by Joan Didion, Slouching Towards Bethlehem. This was published end of the 1960s, I think 1968 or something. You will find the correct date because now I can't read anything, 1969, I think. We read White Album together earlier this year and something else that I forgot. Let's just rewind and try to make a whole sentence. I did like it as a snapshot of especially Los Angeles, but California more in general in the 1960s. That is also what the White Album gives you as a reader. And whenever you have that type of essay that talks about, a certain place and a certain time in time, not all the essays age equally well. So there were some essays in there that was just fun. Yeah, but I mean, we now learned that things are different or they develop differently. And that was especially true, I thought, for the title essay, Slouching Towards Bethlehem. So in the White Album, the title essay, the longer essay was White Album, and here Slouching Towards Bethlehem, which was I think a 60-page essay about Joan Didion going to San Francisco and meeting, the cool kids, the hippies who are on taking recreational drugs and, being cool. And it just didn't work that well anymore, I feel, now in 2024. But there were some essays that I definitely thought were really still speaking to me. I enjoy her language. I enjoy her view, how she takes a snippet of fact that interests her and then makes an essay around it. But overall, I did like White Album better, but that could also be because if you read both of those rather close together, it becomes a little repetitive in a way because it's always, or a lot of times, it's about the same things, the same themes. She takes the same she has the same way of telling you stuff. So I definitely, if you're interested in Joan Didion, you can start with this one or the White Album in her essays when you want to read her essays, but maybe don't do what I did and read too many of them, after the other. The other book I finished was also a buddy read, and for me it was a reread, and that was Living in the Shadow of AI, Madhumita Murgia, Code Dependent. Was published earlier this year. I picked it up in February or something because it was longlisted for the inaugural Women's Prize for Nonfiction. And it is about AI, and I, thought you should really educate yourself about artificial intelligence. And I loved it. And I wanted to reread it, and Heidi hadn't read it and wanted to read it, so we read it together. And a reread really served me very well, because I'm, especially when it's about technical things. And no, don't zap away. This is not a technical book about artificial intelligence, but there is also some explaining what AI actually does. And I understand it and I grasp it when I read the essay, and then you order the chapter. This is not essays, it's chapters. And then 3 weeks later, it just has flown out of my mind. So this book is, if you don't know that much about artificial intelligence, you want to have a sort of basic explanation how it works without, again, I made the mistake of using the word technical. It's not a technical book. She explains artificial intelligence by looking at people who work with artificial intelligence or whose life is influenced by artificial intelligence. Give you 2 examples. So working is, for instance, people who are data workers. So they get huge amounts of data. Let's say the artificial intelligence in question is a self-driving car algorithm, and so they get all these data about people, about driving, and they have to identify, this is a road, this is a car, this is a tree, this is a ball, this is a child, in order to teach the algorithm in the end how to drive. And people influenced by artificial intelligence is when it's used for surveillance. For instance, there is a chapter about facial recognition and how this is very biased towards white male faces. And there are many more misrecognitions when you are black, when you are a black woman. So it shows you something about how it works and how it can be used, but she anchors these stories with the people who either develop it or work with it or have issues with it. And I thought it was, if, like I said, if you want to have an introduction into the world of artificial intelligence, that is not a technical handbook, that is not boring, but that gives you a good grasp in the end, I can highly, highly recommend this one. Then I have to report, unfortunately, that I have a DNF. I haven't DNF'd many books this year. I think maybe 3 or 4 or something, because what I normally do is, if I have to read a book for a buddy read, yes, but if I'm not sure, or if it's a voluntary read, like, a book, just a more general book club or something, I will download a sample from a Kindle sample and will read the first 20 pages or something. And then mostly I know whether I want to read the book or not. This I bought, Fresh Banana Leaves by Jessica Hernandez. First of all, because it was the November pick for the Book Naturalist Book Club, run by Heidi from My Reading Life and Doris from All the Books. You know all about that. They pick books, 1, sometimes 2 a book every month, non-fiction mostly, but also some fiction thrown in, and everything has to do with the natural, with nature, very broadly with nature, to encourage us to read more books about nature. It's fantastic. If you have not heard of this book club, I'm sure they will come up with the list for 2025 pretty soon. Go check it out, because I really discovered a lot of books and a dud. I had to DNF it. The theme, like it says, healing indigenous landscapes through indigenous science. I was really interested. I was already a little trepidatious when I saw the Goodreads reviews, because there were some remarks about lack of editing, and the writing is just atrocious. I cannot understand how an editor could let this go. She has something to say, and it's not stupid what she wants to say, but the writing irked me so much after, what was it? Yeah, about 75 pages or something. I had to put it down. I had to DNF it. It's, yeah. Sorry about this, Jessica Hernandez, but especially I blame you, editor of, what is this? North Atlantic Books, Berkeley. I mean, it's a disgrace. It's really a disgrace, the editing on this book. Anyway, the books I'm still reading, which I most likely will have finished when the video goes up on Sunday, but I want to not, preempt that, I finished it, because it's not true. I haven't finished it yet. And that is another buddy read with Penelope, one of my very loyal subscribers and commenters. And we finally have our first buddy read. And we are reading this, The Farm in the Green Mountains by Alice Herden-Zuckmeyer. This is obviously the German language edition, but it is translated into English. Penny is reading it in English. And I think I wrote down the translator somewhere. Translated from the German by Ida and Carol Washington. Yes. So you can obviously buy it in English. Alice Zuckmeyer and her husband Karl Zuckmeyer, who was a really famous and very successful German language author, playwright in particular, in the 1920s, 1930s, and they left Austria, Germany after Hitler came to power. First to Switzerland, and then they immigrated to the US with the help of Dorothy Thompson, journalist, doesn't really matter. And in the end, this is a sort of picture. I mean, it's a painting, but they rent a farm in Vermont because life in New York is too expensive. They stay in New York first. It's very difficult for Zuckmeyer to work as a writer. He tries screenwriting in California. That doesn't go well. And finally, they decide to rent a farm and to have chickens and pigs and goats and, and sell produce, but also have a cheaper living. And they stayed in the farm, I think, for 7 years or something. Never returned to Germany, by the way. In the late 1950s, they both returned, or they returned to Europe, but then decided to stay in Switzerland. Anyway, so this is Alice's account of life on the farm, and it is mostly drawn from letters she has written to her family or friends. And it has this conversational style when she talks about, the hens and the fights in the hen yard, and things like this. She talks about rats. Gross. It's a gross chapter. So it really gives you an idea about this relatively harsh life, I have to say, that the couple, together with 2 children, not small children, had in Vermont in the late 1930s and during World War II. It's not very political so far. Yeah, look, it's a third left. And we have check-in on Sunday, so that's why I said I will probably finish it by the time the videos goes up on Sunday. So it's all the horrors and the World War II and the Holocaust and everything is it's not the subject of the book. So if you think because they are refugees from Nazi Germany, this would be very political, it's not. It's really focusing on the life, the farm life that they had. And I will tell you what my final verdict is when I finished it and after I have checked in with Penny. And then I picked up this one that I think I showed it to you in the book haul, Jane Schilling, The Stranger in the Mirror, a memoir of middle age. Jane Schilling is a book critic, and this book was published, I think, 10 years ago or something. Well, yeah, 2011. The list is alphabetical, dear, so Schilling should be... I went into this book with a bit of a wrong idea of what the book is about because of the subtitle, Memoir of Middle Age. I thought Jane Schilling would explore middle age. She does also, but the book is much more really a memoir about her life written in middle age and looking at things from her perspective as a middle-aged woman. But it's not, there's a lot about her childhood, about, how she grew up, school, reading books, stuff like that. And I had difficulty making the switch. And that's not the book's fault. Maybe, the subtitle's fault, but it's my expectation. So after 2 or 3 chapters, I put it down for 2 weeks, and then now I will start again because I now know that the book is different from what I thought it would be. So there's that. I'm still reading, and I don't have the book here because it's somewhere in the book room, but I'm still reading Barbara Ehrenreich's book, For Her Own Good, about expert advice to medical expert advice to women. But I will talk about that book more extensively once I finished it, had my last check-in with Kathleen. It's a buddy read with Kathleen from Kathleen Ann. And then we have the only fiction for this month. And that, is a very dull cover. It doesn't say anything. I think I bought it used, and I think there was probably a dust jacket over it, but it's Anagrams is the book's title. And do we have an author somewhere? Not really, but it's here. Look, we're just going to use this. Anagrams by Laurie Moore, published in the 1980s. And this is a book for the 1001 Women I want to read before I die. And it's the November pick of Sandy's book club. So we will do probably another book club next year, because this year, first I was out of, out of it for quite a while. I left BookTube, I think, for 4 months or so because of my own health issues and my mom. And Sandy had a very, very stressful year as well. So we did not do that well. And I started it, and I don't like it. But we will see how it goes. Anyway, this was my kind of meddled, that's what you get when you pre-film, meddled recent reads on Sundays. Thank you for watching anyway. I hope you've enjoyed it. As always, I'm looking forward to your comment, and I'll see you all soon next Sunday.